and it's legal. So that's our story. That's what we're all about. And I'm just so happy to be here at NOCO. I'm so excited that we have NOCO. It's been 2 years. So I'm just so happy that we're here, and Morris and Elizzy, and it's just been so exciting to see people again and shake hands. And we were hanging out at the Renaissance last night, and it just feels like the world it just feels a little more normal.
Welcome to the Miracle Plant Podcast, the show that inspires, promotes, and gives you a daily dose of inspiration from the people who have used cannabis to change their lives in extraordinary ways. Here's your host, Justin Benton.
So my name's Justin Benton. I'll tell you a little story about me, what brought me to NOCO, and how I got into the hemp world. It was about 6 years ago. Life was great. It was our second child, and picket fence, the house, the dogs, the whole nine, and couldn't ask for anything more. So one day I get a call that there's something wrong, and it's, as a parent, it's the worst thing you could imagine is when you're getting a call that there's a diagnosis with your child that's severe. My son was, a happy, healthy kid, talking. We were going to the park, playing catch and t-ball and all those kinds of things, and then all of a sudden, he lost his language. He lost his communication. He went into a hole. And at first, the dads tend to be a little bit more in denial, and it's a phase, it's all good, he'll be fine. And my wife went and got a diagnosis, and we got the call, and he had slipped into severe autism. And back then, I didn't even really know what the word meant. I didn't know if it was contagious. I didn't know if it was a lifelong sentence. I had no idea. And all I knew was I needed to fix it. Us guys, we like to fix stuff. And fortunately, I was raised holistically, and plant-based medicine, you are what you eat, and all of that good stuff. And so I called my mom out, who's actually here at the conference. And I said, "Hey, Mom, we got an issue. Come on out." And so when she gave me her diagnosis that we have a problem, that's when it really hit home. It was the biggest gut punch of my life. And the first thing we started doing, fortunately, was that we worked on his diet and his nutrition. Clean as a whistle. Got rid of the dairy, got rid of the gluten. It was all about the gut biome. It's called like the gut brain. So we literally are what we eat. So when we started to eliminate the dairy, when we started to eliminate the gluten, the processed foods, the refined sugars, all organic, we started to see some progress. We were having to reteach him he was 3 years old at the time. We were having to reteach him how to speak, how to communicate, and just basically engage with us. And so we saw some progress. There's a thing called the ATEC, which is how you score autism, up to 179. And he came up to 148, so it was very severe. And we got him in the mid-40s after really cleaning up his diet and with some therapy and some good guidance. But we hadn't got my son back. So I continued to press on, working with researchers and doctors, and anything I possibly could to find the answer. And there wasn't a lot of answers out there with autism. This is about 6 years ago. Then I came across some research from this guy called Dr. Raphael Mechoulam. And he had done some research in 1963 that isolated the CBD molecule within the cannabis plant. And once he did that, he did some research in the 1970s, and he discovered that children that were suffering from epilepsy and seizures, when they gave CBD to these children, the seizures ceased or significantly reduced. And so based on that alone, I figured, what the heck? Let's give it a shot. Autism is a neurological ailment. Things aren't quite firing right up there in those neurotransmitters. And it was a wing and a prayer, literally. And I did our research. We checked out some products that were out there. And we didn't get the results we wanted right away, but I wasn't going to give up. The more I started to understand about this miracle plant, about this hemp plant, about this cannabis plant, whatever name you want to use, I also came across some research from this guy named Dr. William Courtney. Now, Dr. William Courtney had a fascinating take on cannabis, which made so much sense for me, being raised holistically. He said, "Why don't you juice it?" And that was like the light bulb went off. Why would you decarboxylate, heat, denature, process, isolate this beautiful plant. The only reason that you should put fire to the cannabis plant is if you're trying to decarboxylate the THCA into THC delta 9 to get you high. And if that's your jam, and go for it. The last thing on the planet I wanted to do was get my 3-year-old son high. So when I saw Dr. William Courtney's research with juicing cannabis just like celery juice, it was like, let's give it a whirl. I've never seen that, I've never heard of it, but that makes so much sense. And he did this research for like cancer and some very severe things. And so I grew some hemp out here in California. Southern California is where I'm from. And high CBDA strain. I did a real simple cold press extraction, just like freshly squeezed orange juice. And we were at a pumpkin patch, and my son was having a tantrum. He had his hands over his ears, just kicking and screaming while all the other kids are playing and hayrack rides and having a great time. And my wife was there, and I said, hey, give him some of this. So I pulled out of my pocket a little cold pressed tincture that we had made earlier that morning, and just gave it to her, and she gave it to him orally, and 2 minutes later, he snapped out of it. And he was all of a sudden, went from a tantrum to running around, playing with his sister, picking pumpkins. And that was our like aha moment. And the grandparents were there, and the aunts and the uncles were there, and they were like, what is that? What did you give him? And it's just some cold pressed hemp that we made this morning. And so that was the beginning of our journey of really understanding, along with diet and nutrition and therapy, and lots of fresh juiced cannabis and cold pressed cannabis oil, mostly consisting of CBDA, the acidic precursor. My son's no longer on the spectrum. So he went from a 148 off the spectrum below 20, and that's called neurotypical. And so it was the answer to our prayers. And so I set up an organization, 101cbd.org, just to help educate and give hope to other families that are dealing with autism, because there wasn't a lot of education at the time that I could find. There wasn't a lot of hope. And that was it. And that was the beginning. And we were happy just to have a little website over here at .org to help other families. And we had an office building. We had one little suite where people could come in if they had questions or whatever. And lo and behold, the people, they just kept coming. At first it was rheumatoid arthritis, because they had read something on Netflix or saw a movie. And so they come up, we had stairs back then. It was an office building. And we didn't know. So people who could barely walk were climbing up these stairs first it was rheumatoid arthritis. And she comes back 3 days later, and it worked. And what do you mean? I didn't know what rheumatoid arthritis was. But I've been on medication for over 5 years, and I took your CBD oil sublingually under the tongue, and the pain has gone from a 9 out of 10 to a 0 or a 1 out of 10. And so that was like, oh my God, okay. And this is back in like 2016. So I'm like, that is awesome. That's really cool. Then another lady came up the stairs, second floor. She had neuropathy, and I didn't know what neuropathy meant. And so she literally was helped up by her husband, who had to like carry her up the stairs, and she had tried everything under the sun and to no avail. And she was in a recovery part of her life, and she has a recovery house, and she was like, I am not gonna try marijuana and pot and all this crap. But she was in so much pain, she couldn't play with her grandkids, she couldn't stand up for more than a minute and a half. I gotta try something. This is not a life worth living. She was in her 70s. So she came up the stairs, and she tried one of our products, cold pressed hemp, and 3 days later she came back, walking, bounding up the stairs, and she said, it's resurrection juice. She says, my pain is gone. I don't have the pain anymore that she's had for 2 years that she got from shingles. And so then I was just like, remember, I set this whole thing up just to help my son and set up an organization that would educate other people that were on the autism spectrum or affected by it. And so now first it's rheumatoid arthritis, and then it's neuropathy. And then I'm like, this is crazy. Similar stories keep happening. Fibromyalgia, all of these autoimmune diseases that the doctors can't fix. They keep, prescribing different things, and basically we're just a guinea pig. We'll see. And then a lady came upstairs in her 70s tends to be our client. And she had stage 4 cancer. She was from Germany. And those Germans, like from Germany, they do their research and they make a decision. And she said, I would rather die than go through radiation and chemo again. I read some research. I've seen this cannabis oil helps with tumors. I'm going to take your cannabis oil. And you guys are the best that I've found around the area. So I'm going to take your strongest cannabis oil. And that's that. And so I was freaked out. Because again, remember, I just had a little sweet. All we did was just have a little thing that was meant for autism to help other families with our child and give them education and hope and access to free products and teach them how to grow it in their backyard and all that good stuff. And so she took the oil, she went down the stairs, and then it was like, of course we told her, consult with your oncologist and your physician and just keep us in the loop. And so she comes back 30 days later and to get more oil. And for cancer and anything severe, like we've mentioned, we do half off for life. It's 50% off. It's $40. And so we just give her oil and here you go. How are you? She's, oh, things are good. I'm playing tennis 3 times a week. And we're like, okay. And I didn't have the courage at the time to be like, to get any results so she just went off and another month goes by and she comes up and gets another bottle of her oil and I'm like, how's it going? She's like, doing great, playing tennis 4 or 5 times a week, walking outside, couldn't be happier. This glowing aura around her. And we were like, just happy to see her. So another month comes by, she comes up the stairs. Where's my oil? Here you go. So Gudrun, how is it going? It's going fantastic. I just got my results from UCLA and I've got a clean bill of health. At that moment, that's when everything changed. It was right before 2018 in the Farm Bill. And then I knew right then and there that my purpose, my mission was to help educate people, tell them about our story, our journey, and heal the world. This plant that has been so demonized and misunderstood has incredible powers, as all of us here know, because we've all been affected by this plant in different ways. But what we found was when you cold press, when you juice the cannabis hemp plant, you unlock the full potential of the plant. So you literally, in the morning when you're making your juice, and we still make it for our son twice a day, 300 to 400 milligrams of cold pressed CBD oil along with his kale and his, kale and apples and carrots. And we use some probiotics from a great company called Sunrider. And he's a healthy, happy kid. He's 8 years old. I coach his basketball when basketball comes back. He just got an academic award. And it's been unbelievable what this plant has given me and my family. And so when I started seeing how this plant helped so many people in so many different ways, I decided that I was going to close everything else. I had other businesses and marketing and sales and all these things. And I said, you know what? Everything that I've learned in my life, I can apply to educating, empowering people to take back control of their health. And when 2018 passed and the Farm Bill came out and things just went absolutely wild. And it's been the honor of my life to call cannabis hemp my business partner. And just to continue to educate and teach people about what this plant can do for us, because those of us in this room at this conference have a really good idea of what hemp is and what cannabis can do. But there's roughly 80% of our country, and just talking about the US, not the world, has never tried CBD or has a negative opinion of CBD and is very confused, as we all know. And so we set up this organization in a much broader sense now to just help people. We have free education and consulting. If you go to the website, we give away free products for anybody to try. If you come by our booths, we got a ton of great products to give away. We also give away free seeds, hemp seeds, and teach people on YouTube how to grow hemp in your backyard, just like cucumbers or tomatoes, because it is springtime and it's time to grow some hemp, and it's legal. So that's our story. That's what we're all about. And I'm just so happy to be here at NOCO. I'm so excited that we have NOCO. It's been 2 years. So I'm just so happy that we're here, and Morris and Elizzy, and it's just been so exciting to see people again and shake hands. And we were hanging out at the Renaissance last night, and it just feels like the world it just feels a little more normal. And I want to introduce Kristin over here to she's the president of the Autism Hope Alliance. And when we were looking to get the word out about autism, I came across Kristin's organization, and I was blown away. It was education first. And she has an amazing story that I want her to share with you as well. But so let's give it up for Kristin from the Autism Hope Alliance.
Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to be here, and Justin's story just always blows me away. And I've heard so many stories the last probably 16 years of families really just having no hope. My son was diagnosed when he was 2 years, 4 months. They told us he was never going to look, he was never going to talk, and that he'd be in a group home by the time he was 8. That was the picture that they were painting for our future. I remember going home, and I was just really obviously sad. I didn't know what to do. And about 2 weeks after feeling sorry for myself, I got out of bed and I started getting online and Googling. Fast forward, we learned about diet, we learned about biomedical treatments, we learned about different therapies, and we did everything we could, everything we found, we tried to help our son. And little by little, he started coming back. Our son is on the spectrum still. He is 18 years old. He'll be 19 actually in a few days. And he's at about a first grade level. A lot of people might say, oh gosh, that doesn't sound good. But where he was to where he is today, it's amazing. He may have not recovered, but I have a relationship with my son. He knows who I am. He loves me. He is like the happiest kid ever. He loves to go to the beach. He loves to go to the snow. He loves to go on boats. He loves to go bike riding. He loves to swim in the pool. He loves to go horseback riding. And you know what? That wasn't supposed to be possible. He was not supposed to be able to do any of that. And even at 18, he still keeps climbing the ladder, which is amazing because supposedly after 8, that was it. He's still talking more. He's still learning. I know this morning, I'm not there, but I know he learned about Henry Ford and cars being built. He's learning the value of money. It's amazing. About, a year and a half ago, I was talking with Justin. He's one of our partners. And I was having a really bad day because probably for the 2 years prior to that, maybe 2.5 years, my son got the other membership card called epilepsy. 40% of boys, when they hit puberty on the autism spectrum, will get that membership card. So they will not only have autism, but they will also get epilepsy. My son was having seizures. We were on lots of medications, and he was very aggressive. I was running for my life in the home. I was scared out of my mind of my own son because he would hurt me. And I knew he wasn't doing it on purpose. We couldn't figure out how to help him. We were giving another CBD, and at the time also THC and THCA, and nothing seemed to help. Talking to Justin and his mom, and they're like, hey, why don't you try 101 CBD? And my head was like, we're already on a CBD, like how different can it be? They're all the same. No, they weren't. He sent me a bottle. I let it sit on my desk for 2 weeks because I just wasn't really believing it was gonna be any different. I had went through another episode of my son beating the crap out of me and not knowing how to help him. I looked at his father and I said, let's try this. What can it hurt? So I went to work. I told my son's dad, just switch out the CBD. Keep giving the THC and the THCA, but just switch out the CBD for 101. My son's dad doesn't always listen because he wasn't trying not to listen. He thought I meant take away everything. So he gave him the 101 CBD, and I get a text later from the therapist. Jackson had a great day. I'm like, there's no way. There's absolutely no way. All we did was switch the CBD. Let's fast forward now 1.5 years. We have had no aggression in the way that we were since that day giving that CBD. No aggression. And if you used to see me before, my arms were covered in bruises. It was awful. And now he's starting to regain some of the stuff he lost, because before seizures, he was about at a 5th grade level, and we lost a lot of the work we had done. He's now gaining a lot of that back now. And the only thing in the last year and a half that we have changed is going from the CBD and the THC we were using to no THC, different CBD now, just the 101. We do give high doses. And he is legit the happiest kid, and I get to have a real relationship and get to do things with him. Next week, we're going to horseback camp in Arizona, and I would never have been able to do that prior. So I just know that where there's hope, and if one kid can do better at any age, that provides hope for all of those kids at any age. And that's why I always say any age, because I still hear, and it angers me, I still hear professionals saying, oh, you have to get it when it's really young. You have to get them when it's really young. Okay, what about all these other kids that have tried everything and we've done everything? Are we supposed to give up on them? No, we can't give up on them. And I believe that I am gonna keep seeing my kid get better, and he's just gonna do more and more. And I know it's because I know a huge piece to the puzzle is because of 101 CBD. And so that's why I'm here, just trying to give hope. So thank you for your time.
That just about wraps it up for us. Thanks everybody for coming out to listen to our talk. We'll rebroadcast this on the Miracle-Plant podcast. So we have a podcast on Apple and Spotify and anywhere you can find it. So you can go to 101cbd.org or 101hemp.org. It's all the same. And check out the podcast so you can listen to this again. And we'd love to take if there's any questions, raise your hand, shout it out. We'd love to answer them. Otherwise, have yourself a heck of a NOCO. Question? Go ahead. So, again, that's another story that I didn't tell. So if you go to our YouTube website, our channel on YouTube, I should say, 101 CBD, there's a guy, his name's Mitch, and he came to me about 3 years ago, and he's called the shop. Again, remember, this first store was on stairs. And he says, I'm in a wheelchair, I can't get up. And we didn't have an elevator. The property manager said he would put one in, but yada, yada, yada. And so I said, no problem, I'll come down the stairs and I'll just come talk with you. So he's sitting at the bottom of the stairs in a wheelchair with his wife, mid-50s, late 50s. And he says, I can't walk, I've got MS. I saw an article, I read that CBD helps. And he said, I've taken every pharmaceutical drug they've ever prescribed, and it's making my legs worse, it's making my conditions worse, and I don't want to take any more pharmaceuticals, and I want to try CBD oil. So again, we got him a bottle with the discount for anything that's complicated. It's $40. We gave him a bottle, and then he lived a little far away in Camarillo. We're in Ventura, California. And he started ordering online, so I never saw him again. 13 months later, after I saw him, he walked up the stairs from being in a wheelchair, not being able to walk. And he said, before I leave this earth, and you can see this on the YouTube channel, he said, I was gonna walk up those stairs, Justin, and I was gonna tell you, your CBD oil saved my life. And we also have another brand ambassador, which Kristin's actually in charge of as well. If you go to our booth, you can become a brand ambassador, and basically you just share your story on social media like 3 times a month, and we give you $50 a month of free CBD products. Another brand ambassador, Latara, had severe MS and a child that had severe autism and epilepsy, who we met through the Autism Hope Alliance that Kristin's the president of. And she says her MS is basically non-existent. She's healthy, happy. She's going to UNLV and getting her degree in cannabis education. And we've seen a lot of amazing things. Again, the one secret, as the headline says, is that you keep it raw, cold press, eat the plant, and you unlock the full potential of it. When you consume the entire whole plant, it helps our bodies find, homeostasis. Dr. Ethan Russo talks about the entourage effect, but our bodies best know how to interpret plants by eating them, not burning them, not denaturing them, not isolating them. This plant's been around longer than we have, folks, And our bodies have that endocannabinoid system that's set up to receive the cannabinoids. We always say CBD as it was meant to be because Mother Nature knows best. So hope that answered your question. Any other questions before we wrap up? All right, everybody. Thanks for coming out. I hope you guys have a great NOCO. I'm so happy that Morris and Elizzy were able to get this thing going. We have a booth. Please come by. We have free samples. You can try the sublingual oils or our topicals and see what this whole raw cannabis, hemp, juicing oil is all about. So thanks, everybody, and we'll see you real soon. Take care.